Hey guys, and welcome to the Family Fudge. I'm Jennifer, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 fabulous no-bake desserts that are perfect for summer. Now you guys, all of these recipes are super easy to make. They don't take a ton of ingredients, and most importantly, in my house, they are kid approved. Definitely give these recipes a try on those hot summer days where you don't want to turn on the oven, but you still want a sweet treat. I'm kicking things off with a beach-inspired treat, and this is one that my kids especially love because it includes edible sand that looks really realistic. Now, I call this recipe Banana Beach Bucket Pudding. Now, I'm going to start by making that edible sand first, and for this, I'm going to blend up an entire box of Nilla wafers. And to help the sand look more realistic, I'm going to add in just a few regular Oreos to crush up in here as well. And just like that, you have edible sand. I think this looks so cool. It really does look like sand. So now moving on to the pudding layer. For this, I'm using 1 block of room temperature cream cheese. And once I have this all nice and smooth and fluffy, I'm going to add 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. To this, I'm also adding 1 box of instant vanilla pudding. And you guys, if you make this, make sure to get the big box of pudding, not the small box. To go along with that pudding, you're also going to need 3 cups of milk. Next, I'm just adding 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and then I'm going to mix this up until well combined. Now at this point, I'm going to bring in the Cool Whip. I'm just going to add about half of the tub in here, and I'm going to save the rest of the Cool Whip for later. All I have to do is fold this Cool Whip into the mixture, and then it's time to move on to the bananas. Now, honestly, you guys, if you don't like bananas, you could leave these out and this dessert would still be delicious. This recipe can serve a lot of people, so I'm actually going to be cutting up about 6 bananas. But of course, if you don't need to feed a crowd, you could easily cut this recipe in half. So now that all the prep work is done, it's time to put this dessert together. If you wanted to, you could layer this dessert in a regular cake pan, or this would be really pretty layered in a trifle dish or in individual clear cups. But what I like to do is actually put this in a real sand bucket. So to my nice clean sand bucket, I'm going to start by adding a layer of the sand. Next comes a layer of pudding, followed by a layer of sliced bananas. Now I'm just going to repeat these layers until I get all the way to the top. At this point, I'm going to add the rest of the Cool Whip. And then I've made sure to save quite a bit of the sand for the top. This recipe is sweet and creamy, and it is so fun to bring to a potluck or any summer barbecue. Next up, I'm making a drinkable dessert that is so fun and festive, and it only takes a few minutes to make. You guys, let me know in the comments down below if you've ever tried an ocean water float. I'm going to start by making a simple syrup first. So to my microwave safe container, I'm just going to add 3 tablespoons of sugar and 3 tablespoons of water. Now I'm just mixing this together, and then it's going to go in the microwave for about 30 seconds. Once out of the microwave, it's time for some coconut extract. I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of this. And then to give these floats an ocean vibe, I'm also going to add just a few drops of blue food coloring. So now that our coconut simple syrup is done, I'm just gonna let this cool down all the way, and then we'll be ready for the next part. To these cute little cups, I'm going to pour in some chilled lemon lime soda. Next, I'm going to add just a little bit of that coconut syrup, and then after that, it's time for the ice cream. I'm just using some plain vanilla ice cream, and you're just going to want to add 1 scoop into each cup. And FYI, if you make these at home, it's probably best not to overfill them, otherwise you might be left with a mess. So now to our little floats, I'm going to add some paper straws, some tropical umbrellas, and then right on top of the ice cream, I'm going to carefully add 1 little Swedish fish. Okay guys, now that brings me to my personal favorite no-bake dessert, which is a strawberry cheesecake icebox cake. To make the filling, I'm going to use 1 block of room temperature cream cheese, and using my hand mixer, I'm just going to beat this until it's all the way smooth. Next, I'm going to mix in half a cup of powdered sugar. Next, I'm adding 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then this part is optional, but if you're a fan of a little lemon flavor in your cheesecake, you could add half a teaspoon of lemon extract, or you could even add some fresh lemon zest. Now, at this point, you have the choice of adding either 3 cups of Cool Whip, or you could add in 3 cups of fresh whipped cream. Now, I really do prefer the fresh whipped cream, but since Cool Whip is a lot faster, that's what I'm going to use today. And I'm just going to be folding this in. So now that the cheesecake mixture is done, it's time to move on to the strawberries, and I'm going to use about 2 pounds of strawberries. Now, to my 9 by 13 pan, I'm going to add a thin layer of the filling right on the bottom. Then next comes a layer of graham crackers. On top of that, I'm adding about 1/3 of the strawberries. And you guys, one of the great things about this recipe is that the layers don't have to be perfect. You really can just throw this together and it's still gonna taste amazing. Now I'm just going to keep layering it just like this, but I do have to say that this is the type of recipe where you really wanna make this at least 4 hours ahead, or you could even make this the day before. What I like to do is not add the last layer of strawberries on top until right before I serve it. And you guys, I know that calling this an icebox cake might sound strange since there's no actual cake in it, but trust me, when you use the graham crackers, they soak up the cream, and this recipe really does have an overall creamy, cake-like texture. next up, I'm making some fluffy lime Jello pies. With this recipe, you could make one big pie, but what I like to do is put this fluffy filling into 12 mini pies instead. These mini pie crusts come already made and ready to fill, and there's just something special about having your very own mini pie all to yourself. So after the pie crust, the second ingredient is Jello. Now you could definitely switch up this recipe and use other flavors of Jello, but today I'm just using lime because that's my favorite. And to make this recipe, you're going to need a big box of Jello, not the small box. And then lastly, the third ingredient is, of course, more Cool Whip. I'm going to be adding 2 small tubs. Now, all you have to do is dump the entire packet of Jello mix into the Cool Whip and stir until combined. That's it. Like I said, this is going to be a very fluffy pie. Now, if you wanted to, you really could just slap this filling right into the crust and smooth out the top. But because I'm extra, I'm just gonna fill each pie crust about this much. And then with the rest of the filling, I'm going to use a piping bag with a star tip to make them look a little fancier. And speaking of fancy, you don't have to do this part either, but I'm gonna garnish each one with just 1 slice of lime. These are gonna go in the fridge for about 30 minutes or so, and then after that, they're ready to enjoy. Okay guys, now last but not least, I'm also going to be making some little frozen treats that aren't really a recipe at all. But these are super refreshing and they are the perfect treat for kids to make for themselves. To make these, you're going to need 2 different flavors of applesauce, and you really can use whatever kind of applesauce you like. But our favorite combination is strawberry applesauce with mango applesauce. You're also going to need some parchment paper, a sheet pan, and most importantly, you're going to need some space in your freezer. So Lily and I are going to grab a couple of baggies. Then we're going to use a couple of cups to make these baggies easier to fill with the applesauce. Next, I'm going to carefully snip the tip off of each baggie, and then we're ready to roll. Now, like I said, this isn't really a recipe at all. We're just going to be adding a little dot of each flavor, just like this. And once our tray is filled, we're going to stick it in the freezer. Once these are frozen solid, you can easily peel them off the parchment paper and enjoy. These little frozen bites are sweet and tangy, and they're like the perfect little healthy frozen treat. But if you have extra of these, make sure to store them in the freezer. Okay guys, there you have it. These are some of the tastiest and easiest no-bake desserts that you can make. I would love to know in the comments down below, out of all of these different ideas, which one are you looking forward to trying the most? If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you are new. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.